It is 6:33 on Monday, January 28th, 2019, and we will call the school committee meeting to order. For those of you who are watching, just to let you know that we don't have our cameraman behind the camera, so we're not going to have the zooming in and out. Hopefully you are seeing all of us as we have our conversation today. The first item on our agenda is our consent agenda. We have 4 separate items in there. Did everybody get a chance to review?
Mm-hmm.
And so can you please, can we please have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion, edits, corrections?
I just didn't see the continued participation in school choice in the folder.
That's exactly what I wanted to ask. The continued participation in school choice, is it in there?
It's just a vote.
It's just a vote.
Oh, okay.
There's nothing.
Okay, there's nothing for us to review? All right. Is there any discussion on that? Can you just give us a couple of, for everybody's benefit?
Sure, so the school district has to, the school committee has to vote to continue participating in a school choice program. So that allows students to choice into the district. And what's our total school choice number at this point?
Like students?
Student-wise, what's our total school choice student?
Right now it's 111.
111.
So this is one of those votes that we have to take every year.
Yes.
We've been taking to authorize the school district to be able to take in school choice students. Okay. Any questions, any comments on any one of these? Okay, all in favor to approve our consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Just a question on these. These become public records, so they become part of our overall posting, right?
Yes?
Actually, I'm not even sure if we're doing, are we posting all of our stuff like, say,
On the webpage.
we do, right?
Mhm.
Along with everything else? Okay, good. Just checking. All right, so with that, visitors' comments?
I have comments.
Thank you.
Robin the Mortar, I live in
Robin, can you
Granby.
do us a favor? I know it's not the most convenient, but if you can pull a chair and just come and join us here so that the camera can see you.
How about I just stand over here?
You could if you want to. I just didn't want you to stand.
All right, I'm not only a resident of Granby, I'm the president of the Granby Educators Association, and as a member of the Massachusetts Teachers Association, I wanted to make you aware of a campaign that the MTA has going on. It's called Fund Our Future, and I've given you some of the handouts and a button. The formula for state funding for towns is obsolete. And the MTA has done some figuring. If they update the formula to where it should be, Granby would receive an additional $160,900. For this town, that is monumental. What a difference it would make in the school budget. And it's not only this town. There are millions owed to Springfield if they update this formula. So what I'm asking is, as a school committee, I have given you a copy of a resolution, and I've added Granby's name in here and figures. Is for you to think about it, and perhaps at the next school committee meeting is to vote, and as a school committee, adopt this resolution. Granby's name would be added to the MTA website that says who is supporting this resolution. I would say about 90% of our members here in town signed a petition to help get these the bill passed and on the floor. So just review the things I've given you and go over it, and please consider. because what a difference it would make here. This is along the lines of the millionaire's tax. That was there and got booted. This is, and there's no other way to put it, it really did. This would make a difference, just like the millionaire's tax would have. This is specifically for schools. Not only, it's for higher ed also, colleges, because colleges are closely underfunded also. So I'd just like you to, go over the stuff I gave you. If you choose, wear the button. And think about adopting this resolution. I'm not asking you to do anything tonight. Probably at the next meeting, I would like you to think about it, and we can put it up for a vote. And I'll have a copy of this for you all to sign.
Thank you. We'll consider that, and we can't vote on it tonight anyway.
Oh, no, that's why I just
Yep.
wanted to make you aware of it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
The Fair Share Act that you mentioned,
Yes.
previously known as the Millionaire Act, I think we signed the
Yes, you did
resolution in
endorse
support of
that.
that. So we'll consider adding this to our next agenda
Thank
as
you.
well.
And
Thank you for
it's
bringing it up.
just to update the formula.
Yep.
And it would make a tremendous difference in how towns are funded.
Yep. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Can we make sure that that's on the next agenda? And that way we'll have time to review this information, maybe do our own research, and then we can have a
Absolutely.
discussion at the next meeting?
Thank you. All right. So we had a little miscommunication on the next item, student delegates. So what we're going to end up doing, we're going to invite these students to our next meeting for their report out to us on the state Student Advisory Council and Regional Student Advisory Council, and whoever delegates we have, we're going to invite them. We can invite them all. They can select their own speakers if they have things to share. They can do it as well, but we'll do it next time. So going to, do you mind if I move an item up so we just get to talk about it and get it? So I'm assuming everybody, especially if they're watching, just, they may want to hear about the roof issue that we had earlier. Was it last Thursday? Last Thursday. So let's just put that, if there are no objections, let's just put that on top of the agenda right now, and let's just quickly discuss that. I did not know whether there would be visitors with their questions on this. But can you just give us a quick recap of what happened and what measures were taken as a result, and what else is pending or should
Sure.
be done with respect to last week's issues?
So with respect to last week's issues, when we opened the building, it became apparent that we had leaks from the roof, which I think with the sequence of storm, many schools in the area had issues with. I don't know if you noticed, East Long Meadow evacuated and closed. We had snow followed by a hard freeze, followed by a thaw and a heavy rain. So what happened was the drains in the roof became clogged, which caused the leaks. So during the day, we made sure that all of the leaks were being captured in buckets so they were not spilling onto the floor and creating a safety situation for anyone. We were evaluating ceiling tiles to make sure that ceiling tiles weren't becoming oversaturated and potentially falling. We did evaluate some heavy leaks in the cafeteria, which we moved students to the upper part of the cafeteria to eat lunch and into the gym. And we evaluated leaks that have been outstanding that we have known about in the science portion of the building. So in all, we closed 6 classrooms and moved those students into open classrooms. So just so that people understand, a teacher may be in a classroom, but if they have prep or break, the classroom will be open. And so we moved students into open classrooms really for the majority of the afternoon. During the day, our facilities crew, John Sullivan, Patrick O'Hare, and Dave
Turcotte.
Turcotte, went up on the roof, cleared paths in the snow to the drains and made sure that the drains got cleared. That alleviated the water sitting on the roof, and then the water was able to drain off the roof, so the next day we were open without any leaks at all. So currently, as you know, we've been working with the town to develop the timeline for the roof project. The entire roof is going to be replaced, and just working with the town on making sure we have the start dates for that, so that we can arrange our summer programming, with the hope that the roof will be, that the project will commence in mid-June and be complete by September when we open.
So is that the timeline now, that it's...
That would be our timeline. So we are hopeful that we have a conversation. I don't know if you want to pick up on the RFP process, where we are with that.
Let me just pick that up. So we did not yet get a response as to what the timeline is for our roof project. So it's this is as recently as last Wednesday, Thursday, right around this, and we had another one before that, which included the questions related to year-end book closing and stuff. There was one question related to the roof project. I'm not sure why we don't have a timeline yet, but I will make sure that I follow up, because we're going to need that timeline. That's going to determine how we go about our summer programming, what the timeline is for people to come in and go out, which portions of the school may be available at what time. So if that requires some coordination, I will follow up on that one. In fact, the challenge with our select board and school committee schedules is that we are scheduled for our meetings the same night. Otherwise, probably one of the better ways of addressing it could be for us, for me, to go and have that face-to-face conversation with the select board as well. And we may still do that, but I will follow up on that email to see whether or not there's any change and whether or not we can get an official response on the timeline of the roof project. So far, we did not hear anything at all what that means, what that could be, would be, but I will keep everybody posted.
I have a question, and I'm sure you answered it before, but I don't remember. We can't have them working on the roof when the school is in session, right? Like do we have to wait till June, like if it goes through?
It depends. It depends on the type of work that they're doing. It depends on if there's an engineering study that has to be conducted first, all of the steps that lead up to the actual, roof project. And we can be flexible. We are one campus now, so, we have some flexibility to move students if we have to move classrooms if we have to, but we need to know what the timeline is so that we can make that happen.
Okay.
May I ask a question?
And the other thing is, we have to have the buildings clean and ready for September. We have summer program that we will have to move, and we have central office that houses in the high school. So all of that has to be arranged if the building is going to be 100% closed, which we're not sure of yet. It may be that they only close the second floor, we don't know. But once we have that information, then we can make plans for the summer.
Mike?
So last summer, were we contacted at all with a recommendation that we move our summer programs to another?
So when we heard that the roof project was approved, somewhere around April 20th, I sent an email requesting a meeting to go over the timeline of the project. On the 27th, I sent a follow-up email and didn't hear back. So in the second email, I was pretty detailed, exactly what I just said. We have summer program, West Street School is closed, East Meadow is closed. Decisions regarding summer we need to have, because if the roof project, we just need to know to keep all students and staff safe. Didn't hear, and so again asked later in July, in August, to no avail. So
So just to follow up on that one, I don't go on Facebook anymore, so whatever I hear from Facebook is whatever is forwarded to me. Just, taking advantage of your question and clarifying something. We exactly had those same questions. Those are important questions for us, so we can coordinate what portion, what sections of the school may or may not be closed. So we can allocate some of those programs to different sides of the school. That was a communication. It was followed up on as well. So when I reached out to the select board and the town in early December, when I had that same question, I think I said, hey, there must have been a miscommunication. We never really asked for this project to be stopped, delayed in any way. But sometimes the softer use of some words like miscommunication, misunderstanding apparently doesn't go far enough. So just for the benefit of everyone who are here and who might be watching this, there was never, ever anything that went from our committee, since we did not discuss and we did not agree and I did not sign anything, that went to the town that asked for the project to be stopped or delayed or postponed. So just hopefully that is clear and everybody understands that. So that opportunity was there, maybe, maybe not. The timeline came much longer than that. We don't know. We never had that conversation. So what we're trying to do and what we're hoping to do is that we don't really miss that opportunity again for a well-coordinated project for this coming summer season. And the reason why we're focusing on summer is ideally we would do something like that when students are not here. But it's possible, your question is a great question. It's possible that when we go out and find the contractor that will be working on this project, that they may say, you know what, you don't have to really worry about that. We're going to take some parts of the project while school is in session. But we don't know, and we don't know what we don't know. That's the reason why we're going to follow up on this and try to get a timeline, what the process is, what's been done, and what will be done.
And for my own clarification, because I feel like there's a little bit of misunderstanding from people that I've been talking to since the roof issue last Thursday. At this moment, we're not sure, or we know for sure, we don't have a company lined up. We don't have like a tentative start date. We don't, because that's what we're saying, right? We don't have any of that information, because what people are saying, like someone just said it tonight out at basketball signups, is like, oh, we're scheduled to be started in the spring is what I heard. Like April is what I'm hearing. So there is misinformation that's out there that's floating around.
Yes.
I'm sure it's probably rumor mill, but I think we need to kind of clarify that, because I think people are expecting that, come April vacation, there's going to be work trucks showing up, and so I just...
Yeah. So at the very least, I think we have one upcoming joint meeting that we're going to reach out to the Select Board and Finance Committee with. At the very least, and when we have that conversation, when we're all together, we can discuss some elements of this project. But other than that, you're right. I mean, people are trying to get some information, and they don't have that information, and as a result, whatever comes out of anyone's mouth goes as fact. And then we're trying to deal with those pieces of misinformation, unfortunately. Currently, we do not know whether an RFP was posted and whether, as a result, a contractor was determined. That's, I think, our first step to understand that, and then we'll go with the timeline, because once we have the contractor, the contractor will...
contractor.
Yeah. Well, the timeline, actually, when you look at it, there's that project, the implementation of the project part, which is absolutely true, is dependent on the determination of that contractor. But to be able to get a contractor, there's the earlier part, the prep part of that process, where we need to go out and we need to solicit, and then we need to find someone, determine which one is the best choice for us. That's what we're trying to understand. That's the first part of the process. And then you're absolutely right. Once the contractor is here, they're going to be able to tell us with more certainty when it's going to start, what it's going to entail, what we need to do in coordination with them, and what season, whether it's spring, summer, is going to be affected from this project. But we'll absolutely, our objective is to be done with the project. By the time we come back for 2019, 2020, we should be done with that project. That's our objective, and that's what we're working with.
And our money is all set because it's been appropriated.
It's been appropriated. Yep.
So the project is being spearheaded by the town, and I would encourage any resident or parent who has any questions to reach out to the town administrator or anybody on the select board, because our information is coming directly from them.
Right.
But there is a little problem. So just to be clear, there was no recommendation from the town that we move our summer programs last year.
No, so my second email was that we have to move our summer programming, and that I need to meet so that we can go over that, so that so we kept West Street open in the case of having to move some of our programming back there, which we were not intending to do, but if the roof project were to move forward, that's the kind of conversation that I was anticipating having.
Okay, because what I read recently was that there was a recommendation.
No.
that we-
So
okay.
in both emails, I say, please, I'd like to meet to go over the timeline for the roof project.
Okay.
Which was something that was directed from the school committee. We've been asking for the timeline since what
Since the
I
vote.
remember.
Yeah.
Well, I
thought
think
the
it
vote
was a
in
little.
May.
That-
The vote, didn't we appropriate money
No,
like
well,
May 4th or something?
We decided to put it in front of the town
Right.
before the town meeting. So yeah, that's good clarification.
Because
actually.
because
Yes.
we were, I mean, I wasn't even on the committee, but I know as a voting member of town, we passed it in May.
Right.
So, even still, it's pretty sad that here it is January and we're still.
And I remember at one of our school committee meetings back in maybe August, asking for
Yep.
you to request a timeline, and just the procedure, the protocol for how this project was going to move forward, given that it was not coming from the school district. It was a project that was coming directly from the town.
Yeah. I think, a few challenges. One is that we can't really continue to have our official conversations over social media or, conversations that we did not have, but somebody says, we were told that. So we really have to get in front of that, we collectively, with the town and all of us, because it's not helping anybody when folks start, hearing some things, and that becomes the
rumor mill
story.
is truth at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So just, nobody knows which one is the true version of the story. The other thing is, we can't really have moving targets of the past, whether it's, there was a communication for moving programs elsewhere, or somebody told us to stop. We already had those conversations, I think at least a couple of times, with the same responses. If there is anything that anybody would like to produce as far as whether those were asked from us officially or from the superintendent, we'd be happy to see and look at those. But we did not send, I did not sign anything, we did not send any communication to stop, postpone, delay that project then. But what we're asking is not really to dwell on those and have conversations as to who did what when at a past time. We're trying to really understand how we can go forward and get this project going. That's our objective, and I'm pretty sure that our friends on the select board and us will be able to have a conversation. If they are busy otherwise because they have some other stuff going as well, I will see if there is one opportunity at least for me to stop by at a select board meeting, and I will ask for a little time as well on their agenda, or I can go as a visitor as well. Or I think we have an upcoming opportunity at our joint meeting coming up anyway, which we're going to reach out to them to invite them.
And just the last thing, I think, I think going into this summer, we should be very, open and flexible, just in case, right? I mean, it probably goes without saying, but.
Right, well, we do have inherently more flexibility because East Meadow will be open.
Right. and that's
So
what I
that was
thought.
our biggest,
Okay.
That was a challenge. Last
Yeah.
year, we were having conversations about officially shutting down West Street School. Then this school was under construction. We were moving things around, and half the site was construction site, basically, and, we could not do anything here. That's why we had that unfortunate culmination of events that did not allow us to have the programs here. This year, as Cheryl said, if we need to use this building is in good shape, obviously, and we can have any program that we want here. So it's not going to be an obstacle at all. Any other questions on this? Okay. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Cheryl. Moving to new business, boys JV volleyball.
my presenter's not here.
Okay.
So I think we'll have to table, if that's okay with everybody.
Okay, yes.
Which
This
is
was just
Not like her at all, so,
Because
yeah.
it's on our agenda for, again, anybody who may be watching for their benefit, this was a request to consider initiating a boys JV volleyball program.
Yes.
Apparently there is interest, and we have a sufficient number of students who wanted to join. And in light of the success that our JV girls volleyball team had this year, and given that many area schools are showcasing their volleyball programs, I guess this was the right time for Ally to
Yes.
bring to us and propose to us.
So are they going to have enough time if we table this until the next meeting? Like this?
We're meeting
That's
next
what's
week,
great.
so yes.
Okay.
When does the spring season start for these sports?
March, no, April vacation, right before April vacation, right? Usually.
Yes.
Aren't signups coming up soon or something, though?
Yeah, I should have asked that way. When do we start asking for signers?
Soon.
As soon as we.
No, but definitely February 4th, we'll have time to
Okay.
add it,
Okay.
if that's
Thank
the
you.
vote.
2019-2020 calendar.
So you have the proposed calendar for next school year. Yikes. Just so you know the process we use, the leadership team with Kathy sit down and go over last year's calendar, make suggestions and ideas for this year's calendar. We then send it to Robin, who shares it with her folks, and we take feedback on the calendar, and then we propose it here.
Any questions on the calendar? Any comments?
When I looked at it, everybody's okay with the last day of school being on a Monday?
I was questioning that as well.
Well,
I mean, I know as a parent, that was,
yeah. There was a lot of discussion about the length of Christmas, which would impact the last day of school. Yeah, it's,
well, I had a suggestion,
yes.
and it was just, I don't know. It was the elimination of Good Friday. Good Friday is no longer a national
So-
holiday, and
We have visitors out. Sorry. Kids, I can't help it. So we've talked about Good Friday, and certainly we could consider Good Friday. We typically don't have great attendance on Good Friday. So that's why it was put
and you have
back.
better attendance on the last day of school on a Monday?
Well, I mean, honestly, it's, yeah. Yeah.
I was just, it was just, I know that you guys put a lot of thought and you went back and forth, and then I was
So we
second
did
guessing whether or
discuss,
not I
we
should bring
did
it up.
discuss Good Friday, absolutely.
I just know as a parent, and I would imagine even as a teacher,
Yeah,
staff
it
member,
is
that
difficult.
a Monday is not an easy day to come
I
in.
can bring it back and survey staff, and I could even
I will
survey.
be honest and tell you, that did not come up in comments from members of the executive board. I didn't release it to staff, but it did get left out on the table in the teacher's room. That did not come back. Many other things about Christmas vacation and the start time and PD days at the beginning of school, but not a word about the last day.
Meaning that the Christmas vacation was too long?
No, they would have liked it longer.
Oh.
Wow. To stretch to the second
Yeah.
and third?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, my suggestion was to have them come to school on the Monday, the 23rd, or for a half day, and then you know, kind of,
Well, I will be honest and tell you that Friday before the 23rd was brought up as being potentially a half day. But after speaking to one of the administrative assistants here in this building, the attendance was up for that day. For the particular reason is kids are in school, parents can finish their last minute things. And so they take advantage of the half day because that was brought up. And, but the last day of school being a Monday wasn't even in my comments.
I wonder what attendance will be, be that day.
They'll be here.
So, to build on what Deanne was asking, the conversation that we were having before when Stephen and Bill were here, and we talked about summertime students starting to really lose some steam. So, you know, to shorten it, to pull it back, especially for a Monday, that, you know, that may be an idea. The other thing that I don't see here is, what is the last day for seniors this year?
This year,
This, on this
On
calendar.
this calendar.
it would be the 12th.
They can't go to
So-
school the day before graduation. Don't they have to have time
Yes,
beforehand?
it will happen because that's finals and stuff like that.
But how can they know if they're
There's
actually
no
ready to
time.
graduate?
It was brought up to me after that, you know, they won't have any days off,
Oh, that's,
but,
That's,
Yeah.
seniors get out
How do we
earlier.
get to that?
Yeah, seniors
I
don't
mean,
get
yeah,
out.
don't they have a trip?
yeah, but
to-
usually they finish and have some days where they don't have to come to school, and that's not right.
Yes.
yeah, but that's not
It's
on
not
this.
happening.
I don't think that's necessarily cool. It's kind of like a rite of passage. You have your,
Why, I don't understand why it's not happening.
Because of the way the calendar falls
I,
and finals
both of my kids were out of school senior year
a week or so before.
it's about a
at,
week. before.
at least
Yeah.
a week before.
And there was time, if there's any makeup exams or anything, and then everyone knew where they were, that they were actually good to go and good to graduate. So when you walk across that stage, you're 100% certain that you're,
Yeah, so, I mean, two things, and let's just, you know, this is not really to challenge your thought process, but based on our experiences, let's just try to understand how it works. For instance, we used to have the graduation day on the first Saturday, which is even earlier. At times it was the first or second of the month. Still, the seniors had some time to be able to go on their senior trip and stuff. Now we're saying that the graduation day is on the 13th, and despite that, there is no time for them to take off, you know, that week or whatever that was, to be able to do their senior trip and everything else that they used to do.
Yeah, I'm confused. Because it seems like, according to this calendar, they're going later, and yet they're going even later if they're not getting out until the 12th.
so they're gonna be taking their last final potentially the day before they graduate.
So, I'm just going to be very honest and say, I don't know the answers to these questions. We did this a while ago, and we had some issues, not only, you know, whether here, whether in my house. So if you don't mind, I would like to go back to the leadership team, find out about Good Friday, and then also define the end-of-year senior events for you so that we're more clear.
Okay.
Okay?
Great. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I appreciate it. All right, going to old business. First on our agenda is our head lice. Is it a policy or procedure?
It's policy.
Policy, head lice policy. This is procedure on it, so I just wanted to be correct.
Yes, it
Yes.
should be policy. So I made the recommended changes from the committee and put that into the policy that you should have now. So the mass screenings are out, and if there are a few cases in the school, it'll be a school-based letter, and if it's in both schools, it will be a district-based letter to help reduce the stigma of the students.
So just to remind everyone, you were here before, we went through this, there were some questions and there were some
Yes.
requests for changes to the text. Did everybody get a chance to read some of the concerns that you raised? Were they addressed in this version of the policy?
I'm just, because I was the biggest proponent of that, so I'm just wondering, the way the wording is if deemed necessary. The school nurse may send a general head lice letter to all the families in the school notifying them of the case of head lice in the building if deemed necessary.
So if you have one case of head lice, would you want a letter going out to the entire building?
For me? Yes.
What about just class?
We said no class because that was where the stigma was created.
Yeah, because then they would get
I just,
What about grade level?
yeah, so let me see if I'm remembering our last conversation correctly. I think we said if it's more than one student, we would then leave it to the
Right, well, I'm feeling
A
like
nurse,
if deemed
right?
necessary, so
Yeah.
I'm just looking for a parameter, but that's my question. If everyone else is good with it, I'm fine. I just was wondering what deemed necessary
Yeah, so I think
means.
when we're talking about at what point do we send home notification, it's much like the flu or a strep throat or some sort of outbreak. That's the professional sort of decision that we have.
Okay, is that the
Nancy
professional
will
term
usually
then?
come to me and the principal and say, I'm a little concerned, I'm seeing, this, and then we'll make the decision to, yes, go ahead and notify.
Okay,
yeah, I think that's what we said last time as well.
yeah,
that
that's,
it would-
so, and my
Yeah.
parental thing and school committee thing is blurred, but I'm looking for, if deemed necessary, we could have,
We're not gonna have 5 kids in the building with head lice and not send a letter out.
that's all I'm looking for, is a
Right.
parameter. So that, to me, this is deemed necessary is just the legal sort of appropriate PC term, and that's all I'm looking for, is just the definition. So, I'm good.
Nancy, my question is where it says Granby Public School head lice procedures, should you change that to procedures/policy or just policy?
It really is the policy, because we have been getting questions from parents.
So you might want to change it.
Yes, I
Under
will.
paperwork, okay?
So then we would have to make the motion as amended.
Right, so I have one more thing, then we can make the motion with the amendment. The part where you are talking about communication with the parents, the last sentence there says, the school nurses will notify the principals if this is done. And that made me think that it would be informing the principals after the fact. I'm assuming you would do that before letters are sent and all
They're normally notified
that.
before we send
Right.
them out.
Can we just change that to read
Yes.
that way so it is clear, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm looking at, which bullet point is that?
It is
So it's, what the school nurse may
the
send.
round one, is it?
Page 2, first bullet.
It is fifth under when diagnosed.
Okay.
The last sentence, so the principals will be notified prior to sending the
Okay, we'll be notified
letter.
principals prior
It will be-
to sending letters home.
Yep. So that's my only comment on this one.
Okay.
Any other edits, comments?
Nope.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve the updated head lice policy as amended?
Do I make the motion?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? All right, all in favor to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Nancy. All right, school committee goals, we did not get a chance to meet.
Can we play calendar bingo while we're here?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, yes, we can try. I'll have to go by memory.
Pardon?
When did we have that scheduled?
The 24th,
And what day was that?
Thursday.
Thursday.
Oh, okay. And it was at 6, right? So I can tell you Thursdays no longer work at 6.
Yeah, I'm really
Any
tight.
Thursday, sorry.
Yeah, I'm really tight with those days too.
I took, sorry. Sorry?
So that day doesn't work for me either.
Thursdays don't work?
Yeah, and neither does the other one that begins with T, Tuesday.
Either do the other 4 days of the week. I thought you were going to say.
My
I was gonna say, actually, that whole stretch in the middle is tough.
Anyone that ends in Y is pretty much.
Are people good for next Tuesday, the 5th? Wednesday, the 6th?
I can do Wednesday,
I'm good both days.
Wednesday would be better.
yeah.
Wednesday, the
Better for
6th?
me.
Okay, let's do that.
The
Can you
6th?
make sure we post Wednesday, the 6th?
The 6th.
So we're having.
Yes,
We have,
February.
so we have school committee next week on the 4th? I have it on the 11th. I must have messed up.
No, actually, I just saw it somewhere on the 11th. I think it's, yeah, there's a folder for the 11th, and I have it for the 4th, but yours probably is right then.
I think we skipped because, so we wouldn't have it back to back. But I can't remember, so I just want to clarify. So we'll have it next week on Wednesday, the 6th, and then the following Monday, the 11th, is our traditional, regularly scheduled meeting? Okay, I just want to make sure my calendar was
No,
right.
that's actually good.
No, I have it, yeah, I have it the 11th and the 25th.
Okay, good.
All right, good.
All right, yeah, because then the 18th was school vacation week, and we were skipping that, so that's why we maneuvered. We're saying the 6th, what time?
6th?
Emery,
Yes,
can you do 6 or 6:30?
6:30, let's do it if you don't mind.
And it will be no longer than 2 hours.
Let's just.
So it's, yes, 6:30 to 8:30.
I love it.
No promises.
Oh, I just put school. I think I need to edit that.
And then no school committee on the 4th?
No, we have school committee. Oh,
Is that
we
gonna
have
be
school
in
committee on the 4th.
your office?
That's what they're saying they don't. They have it on the 11th and the 28th.
Yeah, I have it on the 11th and the 25th for
Or
February.
25th, sorry.
That's what I have.
Not on the 4th.
Cool.
I don't know.
Okay, so we'll do that. Onboarding, the documents.
Thanks.
Oh, my Monday just got really better.
I sent it to you,
Yes,
yes.
so we're good to.
Where it was all adjusted as per the,
Yes.
yeah, and it was,
So we're going to vote for it.
uh-huh.
Okay. so
Okay, we
I'm
can do
just
that.
making sure that you're- From your perspective.
Sounds like a good idea.
It sounded like a question.
Sure.
So am I the only one receiving the updates, or is everybody receiving the updates when
I
Google
don't get
Docs
it.
are
I
updated?
haven't, I guess I don't know, because it's
Okay.
not.
I've been
Because I get
checking
every
our
single thing that
email.
folks touch, I just get an email that says this changed, that changed, so.
No, I don't get anything.
Okay. No, I mean, you made the changes anyway, so. Okay.
I did have
I
a
thought-
question, though.
Yes, please.
When I sent it to you, we need to put it somewhere that it can be easily accessed for when a new member comes on. I don't know if we're creating a spot or how it's
So
gonna.
we would, at the meeting, I'd like to talk about doing a team drive for you with your Gmail. And that would, the original folder would house all of that kind of onboarding information and policy procedure, and then,
So with that, are you talking about really having a school committee specific folder that will not include anything from the rest of the school district? And the only reason why I'm asking that, if we're going to give access to anything, I would prefer to have that folder carved out and separate by itself, so that things that are related to school, teachers' communications, curriculum-related things that we are currently seeing, we don't really have to see all that stuff unless it is part of our conversation. And if we're going to give access to anyone from outside to our folder, then I would not want anyone to have access to the rest of the documents that you guys have on those drives. So let's talk about that and see which one is the best way.
On the 6th.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yes, and what I envision is when a new school committee member comes on board, that person is not just getting directed to, oh, there's a Google Drive where you can go and access all of the onboarding material. I envision a packet being handed to this person in a nice folder
With a nice little matching.
with a nice little matching notebook.
Actually, pencils too.
A little 3-ring binder with the Granby
Yeah.
ram on the front would be super
Yes.
nice.
No, we can definitely up our game in that. I agree.
Can I get one?
Yes.
Can I
You can
get one?
pilot our onboarding.
So I guess what I was going to suggest is not going to fly. I was going to say, because on some other boards, what they do, they put everything on a USB drive and hand you that one with a little logo of the school, organization, whatever it might be. But it looks like we're leaning towards hard copy of it.
I personally like to get
Okay.
the paper, but
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't like
it
printing.
is nice to have I guess to have it electronically would be good too, but it's nice when for the new person coming in to have something that's,
It's a quick reference.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's kind of a pain if you're not right in front of your computer or your phone, and I don't know, sometimes it's just easier
All right,
to have a hard
let's
copy.
start with that,
we can always tweak it.
Yes, we can. All right, so let's then vote on the onboarding, what do we call it? It says onboarding only on this. It's the onboarding handbook, right? Is it?
I was referring to it as just school committee onboarding material.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve the school committee onboarding materials?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
A second.
All right, any more discussions, questions on this? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you again, Deanne, very much.
God, it's off my plate.
Yes, it's one of the goals. And
Nicely done.
procedure for energy management conference.
Yes.
Yes, so we have been working with the town, and the select board has approved our corrective action plan for energy management. And just to keep you up to date, because the town is working with the Department of Energy and Resources, and working to develop lots of grants. Thank you to Jay Joyce, who's doing a lot of that work, and the Energy Committee. We have to be really, anything that we're doing in terms of energy management needs to be aligned to the work that they're doing, so that nothing that we're doing could conflict with a grant that they may be writing or may be thinking of writing. So we had to add to our policy and to our procedure rather, ways that we would make sure that if we were going to do any energy management, that we contacted the select board and let them know about that, so that it could be brought to the Energy Committee and discussed for a potential conflict. And so they approved our corrective action plan. I just wanted to let you know.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I did owe your thanks to Jay, because
Yes.
he's really staying on top of these things. There are sometimes nuances between what is and what is not, and he's letting us know. And we don't really want to miss opportunities in the future when there are grants available, project support available. So.
And thanks to Jay and the select board, they actually gave me an example of a corrective action plan that they had to implement for purchasing electric vehicles. So they were really a resource for us as we moved through trying to create a corrective action plan for energy management. So thank you to them.
Agreed. Okay, so we already discussed the roof on that one. Let me see. We have policies that we've been,
I know,
We don't?
but we don't
we
have.
don't. I still have to make sure the dates are
Okay.
updated in the
Alright.
policies,
On the next meeting?
which isn't the 4th, so
Right.
yes, we'll have
So
plenty of
we have
time.
plenty of time.
Let me ask you this way, is there anything we can help with? Because I think a few
It's
meetings
just
ago-
really Kathy and I have to sit down, and she has the actual dates that the policies were approved first, and we just have to go into every single one and add.
And the
So,
references are there already?
actually, I will ask Ally, this is a great community service project.
Yeah, maybe a simple.
Yeah,
but
it is.
It could be a good learning experience too.
Yep.
Okay, all right, great. So when do we want to do this? Next time, if
Mhm.
there's an opportunity? Okay. All right, our standing reports. Starting with our superintendent's report.
So I don't have a formal printed report, but I did want to share that I wanted to say thank you to the staff and the students for their patience and their flexibility as we worked through the roof issue this past week. Also, as I said, thank you to the facilities crew who went above and beyond trying to figure out what was going on and then solving the problem. I also wanted to say thank you to the DPW. During the last round of snow, they came over and brought bucket loader to do the parking lot. We're learning a lot about the size and the scope of plowing, which is different than what we've had in the past. So thank you very much to Dave DeRocher for helping us out. There was one other thing.
If you don't mind.
Yes.
Thanks to Stephen for his message.
Yes.
Which I thought was clear as to what happened, what was done, what was put in place.
Yes.
We're no longer receiving those messages, but I think
Yeah.
it was shared with the school committee.
I didn't see, I didn't get
I thought-
anything.
Oh, no? Okay. All right.
I got it, it was well written.
There you go.
Oh, you got it as a parent, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
There
I
was
miss,
two of them.
I
It was
miss
actually
getting
really nicely
those.
done.
I
So
miss
we
getting
talked,
those.
yes,
Okay.
we'll put you back on
Now I have
for a couple months.
3.5 months.
All right.
And not to take the wind out of Stephen's sails, because I do think he will be here to present this, but Granby Public Schools, Granby Junior Senior High School was awarded the Project Lead the Way grant. It's $20,000, so we're extremely excited about that. He will be here at one of the upcoming meetings to really discuss the details, but we're very excited about the programming that's going to come on board. And not only the programming, but what we're seeing in terms of the evidence and the research with Project Lead the Way schools, the improvement in science performance with our students. So we're very excited about that.
I think
Wow.
that's great news.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Anything else?
Can I just say there were 2 workshops here that were sponsored by the MTA and the Granby Educators Association, one for new teachers and the other for licensure. And we opened it up to Belchertown and South Hadley and had some attendees from there also. And because the second one for licensure was so well attended, we're going to do it next year. We had 18 people here.
Wow.
Great. It's awesome.
I'll be the go-to district.
But of course, as usual, immediately what I'm thinking is we don't necessarily share these as well as we should, because this is good. I mean, especially when you say that folks from other school districts came to our school district as part of the workshop that was held here, and they're going to come again when we do it again.
Yeah. And I'm investigating other things that we can offer staff here and open to other locals in the area.
Great. Thank you, Robin.
You're welcome.
Too bad we don't have our cameraman today, so just turn.
I'm
Yeah.
fine.
All right. Adam?
Yes, I got a lot, I guess, but I don't have a lot because we thought there was a meeting on the 4th. However, yes, usually I do present budget stuff on the second meeting of the month. We are in the process of building the FY20 budget, as the governor's budget just came out last Wednesday. So we've been going through all that information, all that data. Subcommittee met. We've gone through some preliminary things. So my intent was on the 4th, as we had it in our calendar, was to make a full presentation to the committee as to what our preliminary budget looks like. That's now going to have to wait until the 11th. As I will also, we can actually take 18 off there because that's closed out. 19, also on the 11th, I will give an update as to where we are with the budget. But we are projecting in a surplus as of now. So we look good for 19, but I will give a full presentation on FY20 where we're at, and not a presentation, but update everyone on FY19 where we're at our next school committee meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
But again, the subcommittee, it wasn't really a subcommittee because the meeting wasn't posted, but we did have some good informal talks last week about where we are, preliminary numbers from the governor's budget, and I think we are in a very good position as of today as to that budget that the governor released. So we will talk more, and then a full presentation to the committee on the 11th.
If I can just share a little bit from the governor's budget, because it dovetails into what Robin brought forward. The governor certainly made inroads into implementing in his budget parts of the Foundation Budget Review Committee's recommendations. What you will begin to hear from districts and MTA and MASS and MASC is that that's not enough. That fully implementing the Foundation Committee review proposal, yes, we understand is expensive, but it will bring us up to where we need to be when we consider the cost of special education, which is not currently accurately reflected in the budget, students that are socioeconomically disadvantaged, English language learners, and also the rising cost of healthcare and how much that has taken away from what we do every day in classrooms for children. So you will start to hear that dialogue. So while we're very thankful that the governor recognizes the need, you will hear that it's not a full implementation. And as Robin explained, full implementation would mean an additional $169,900. What we saw was 14,000.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Yes.
So we're still going through the details of that, but I would encourage us all to stay very aware and speaking and reaching out to our elected officials to have those conversations about fully implementing the Foundation Review Committee's work, because that's what's going to bring us to a current level of funding that would make us sustainable, most likely long-term.
And there's no one right now, no legislature that we know. There are probably some who are not necessarily supporting additional funds for education and schools, but an overwhelming majority, they do agree with the fact that there has to be a change to the foundation budget. Even if they do not agree with the amounts, they do agree that the current foundation budget is obsolete, as you called it, and it's calculating certain elements of the budgets in a wrong way. It's not incorporating special volatility and fluctuations. It's not incorporating some of the elements that we keep on talking. So we need to really push for that change. And when you say elected officials, you're talking about those who are in Boston, who have influence over this legislation. The nice thing that came out of this, I guess, with that pressure, even though we did not get to the formula that they had put together a few years ago, October 2016, 17, whatever that was, At least now with that pressure, the governor is feeling like he has to do something on that side as well. The challenge is, in the absence of updating the foundation, and this is something that we have to really emphasize in our conversations with elected officials, they being in the governor's budget, they seem to increase the amounts, but they increase the share coming from the state to an extent, and then they push some of the costs, continue to cost some of the costs to the towns. It's understood there will be some cost sharing as well, but the $160,000+ that you're talking about, Robin, that should be there. Then it is equitable, not when the state just gives you a $15,000 allowance and then the rest of it they try to push to the towns. So that's something that we need to emphasize.
Are you getting a sense that the conversation is starting to change?
Yes. So the conversation really started to change last year when there was legislation on the floor and came very close to being voted on, and at the last minute they didn't have agreement. There is truly recognition that the funding formula review committee's work needs to get implemented. Where the negotiation is how to pay for that, because it is a substantial amount of money, where's that going to come from? And so I think Governor Baker's attempt was sort of a first pass at, understanding and getting to school districts what we need. But as you will hear from MASS, MASC, and MTA, until the formula is updated and those recommendations are put in place, we will just be playing catch-up and or pushing out costs to the town. There are other two things I think that we need to stay on top of too when we're talking to our legislators. One is fully funding circuit breaker at 75%, and the other is charter school reimbursement, which has never fully been reimbursed to districts. And both of those have a significant impact in small communities, small school districts like Granby. So I think as we begin the conversation about fully implementing the foundation budget review committee's work, if the legislature fully funded circuit breaker and charter school, we would also be in a better situation. And those were promises made to towns and to school districts years ago that have not been fully funded. And even this year, we're back to I think it might be 70% in the governor's budget.
For circuit breaker?
Yeah,
It was even
or
less, 68 or
and so
something.
now we're at
yeah.
the same place of fighting, and, all of the superintendents were signing the letters saying, no, you need to bring that up to, the 70%, or you promised us 75, and it's just this, it sort of feels like a shell game a little bit. So if they really, truly funded what they've promised, even in the past, and we don't benefit, but regional transportation is the other one. Those are the three. That, they promise certain reimbursements, and then all of a sudden the money's not there.
Yeah.
So where do school districts get that? They either cut services, they move money from other services in the towns, and it just is not a way to really fund effectively education in the Commonwealth or in the towns.
Is there a state nearby that has a different foundation formula that we should mimic? I mean, I sort of was under the impression it was a national problem, that education being underfunded, or is it?
They're all different. I mean, one of the things you'll hear us talking about is being part of our Rural Schools Coalition, and talking about states that have rural populations and how it's more expensive to educate students in rural populations. There's not population density, there's not class size, special education costs are higher, transportation, so there's all of these costs that are higher in rural schools. There are states that have a rural school or rural district, voucher is the wrong word, but expenditures from the legislature to accommodate for rural schools. And so we're working with the legislature to note that. This year, there was money that was given to rural school districts. It was a tier program. We were tier 3, so they didn't fund a tier 3, but we're still doing that work, making the legislature aware that, schools in Western Mass, small school districts, rural school districts need more. And especially,
Excuse me.
as special education costs go up, healthcare goes up, it has more impact in rural schools. But to your answer, no, there's no one formula
I
that
just
we
know,
all use.
like,
Yeah.
hey, Massachusetts, look to Connecticut or Rhode Island
Yeah.
or something, they're doing
Look
it
to
right.
Connecticut.
Because I mean, from when I listen to the radio and watch the news and stuff, it seems
Right.
like it's more of a national problem, and I didn't know if it was just the foundation formula, is it the same everywhere, or every state does it a little differently, or that's where I'm still kind of fuzzy on some of
Every state
it.
does it a little different.
Okay.
The way they calculate, they mandate, they shift between.
Even the way they're
boards.
organized, you have states that are completely county-driven, and so the schools fall under counties, so.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, FY 19?
19, no, 20, 18, again, we can take 18 off,
Yeah.
Kathy, because we're good with 18.
Good. And then we have Chartwell's update.
Chartwells and facilities, I can keep facilities. We don't have the building committee. Are you gonna speak on the building committee or about the upcoming meeting? Because I can talk about a facilities meeting that we had last week regarding,
Well, actually, the building committee will be, I had a conversation, actually a couple of conversations with Mark Bale. If there is a need for us to convene, we can do it. In fact, when you were asked to join that meeting that you participated in, I was reaching out to Cheryl to ask about potential dates. And then wanted to wait to hear the results of that meeting to see whether or not we do need a.
Okay.
committee.
so let's do Chartwells, and then I can kind of brief everyone on that meeting. So in your folder is the monthly update from Chartwells. I know we're pretty much through January already, but this is from December. And I just want to caution everyone that these numbers are going to look not great because,
Confusing is more like it.
well, December is a very, we don't have that many service days in the month due to vacations. But,
So with that,
Lep-
can I ask a question? Because I don't understand they get our calendar, right? Is that what I'm understanding? So we have, how could they not know how many lunches? Like,
so again, let's go
140
let's go through these, and I will have Ken and maybe Mike Edgar from Chartwells come and do a quarterly review as to where we are.
Okay.
Maybe next month we'll just see how the agendas look. Probably not for the 11th, but maybe for the next meeting. But let's just go through these, and then I will entertain any questions. So served 440 less lunches than projected. Yes, they do have access to our calendar, but their projections start before our calendar for that year is voted on. So they might be using a calendar that has a couple more days than approved, a couple less days than approved. Whatever the case may be, it doesn't necessarily line up day for day to our calendar. That being said, they served 440 less lunches than they projected. They served 204 less breakfasts than projected. I could give you the numbers of what their projections are, but I was trying to kind of keep this limited to some quick data, and then we could have a discussion. Total sales, however, was $2,239 more than projected, so I could see why it would be kind of confusing that they served less lunches and less breakfasts, but also their sales were more than projected.
That's sort of where I'm.
Understood. Yep.
The math doesn't work.
The cost per meal was $1.37, lower than it's been throughout the year and year to date. Again, I was kind of keeping the information as less as possible. Net product cost was $3,300 less than budgeted year to date. Labor cost was under $900 budget. assuming because we did have less service days in the month, and then $13,000 under budget year-to-date. Again, those numbers don't necessarily line up, and I can have Chartwells certainly give us a overview on how they come up with their budgeted numbers for a month. Net profit was down a little over 2,200 compared to what they budgeted, but last year, year-to-date, we were in the red by almost $6,500. So they've made some improvements, and they're making strides. And then net profit year-to-date is a little over $1,100, where they had budgeted about $3,700. And if you see where we were last year in the red, almost $29,000. I guess that's really the line that should be at the top in bold. That's they're making some good strides. We've implemented some half-day lunches, some grab-and-go things, some breakfast, just a couple more options that we weren't offering in the past to kind of drive their revenue up. So that last line is telling of what they have done compared to the last few years.
I just had a question. It kind of goes with what was already being asked, but it's like one step further. If you look at the 13,000 being under budget for labor cost, add that to the food cost being $3,300 less, and the uptick in the overall sales of 2,200, that to me is like an $18,000 swing. How can they only be? I mean, why is it so meager when you get to the end? As far as the impact.
So okay, so just go back. You added up $13,000 under budget.
Yep.
Yep, and the net product cost.
That's a decrease.
So if you don't mind, just
Yeah.
let me without the numbers. So when we look at profit, we'll look at different elements, right? Your sales go up, your revenue goes up, and then you have cost elements. One is labor, the other one is product. Both of them are better than expected, right? So based on that, you would expect that things would get even better, and instead we are seeing that for the month of December, we are looking at this $2,200 deficit. So that doesn't add up, only because everything that can go right when you're calculating a profit seems to have gone
right.
But that number is negative. However, just to make sure that last line, we go fast sometimes, it's not clear, and because this was a big issue for us for many years, let's just emphasize that.
Yep.
For FY18, which is last year, year to date, when we were having this conversation, we were looking at a $28,000, $28,000 deficit.
Yep.
The budgeted amount, based on the estimates and all that, was actually that at this point in time, we would still show about $3,600 or so deficit. Where we are instead is that we are currently showing over $1,100 profit for our lunch program, for our meal program.
Year to date.
So year to date. So we are actually looking at the $28,000 from last year to in negative to over $1,000 in positive this year. So it is on the right track, as you were saying, but I just wanted to make sure that those folks who are watching,
it's emphasized.
and what we share, they understand that we are not in deficit this year. We are in black, although last year there was a major deficit that we were talking about at the same time.
None of this makes sense to me, I'm sorry.
Deficit, and then they slowly chip away.
I mean, I get what they're saying from purely
overall.
standpoint. But we served 440 less lunches and 204 less breakfasts, and yet we're showing a net profit still.
So the net profit is year to date from July 1 when the contract starts through the end of December.
Yeah.
So there is a loss
No,
for December.
the loss was for the month of December.
But overall, so thank you, Emery, for kind of emphasizing that, yes. And I meet with them every month. I meet with Ken, our food service director, every month, and we go over this, and we talk about this. We talk about product cost, commodity cost, all those things. So, which they never really had that oversight in the past. So they are more aware that we are very aware of, their performance in the past. I will have them come, actually, I'll have them come on the 28th of February, just because I think the agenda for the 11th is going to be a little full. So I will have them come on the 28th and,
You mean the 25th?
25th of
They
February.
could still come, but we're not going to be.
Yeah, no. I'm thinking today's the 28th. So the 25th of February, I will have them come and give us a presentation. Give us an update.
Overall, this is still tracking as
Yes,
good news.
yes.
Hopefully it stays that way, and we finish the year in the black.
Yep.
Any questions on the food services? Okay. Thank you, Alex.
Yes.
Anything from the collaborative?
We will be meeting on Wednesday night, first time since November.
Okay.
Write that down.
Cool, so next time.
service for-
maybe you can, So I don't think we got to your meeting. You had a long punch list. Has it been all addressed, or is it in the process of being addressed? And the reason why I'm asking, next one is the building committee. If there is a need, again, Mark said, just give me the dates, and then we can.
So on Friday, I sat in on a meeting at East Meadow. It was Colliers, 3 representatives from Colliers, who's the OPM on the project, myself, John Sullivan, Bill Latoy, the principal, and Chris Martin. And I believe Chris had called the meeting from the town side to kind of get a view of where we're at, because there are a list of things that are still going wrong at the school. And there was...
Not working as they should.
Not working as they should. There's multiple lists. So the intent of the meeting was to get everything on one list, to make sure that the contractors all were aware of these, the town was aware, the school was aware, and that we could solve this moving forward. So we went through that list, which is a very lengthy list, and a representative from Colliers will be condensing everything and sending it out, which I will share with everybody once that happens. And again, the main point of it was really just everybody was on the same page of things that needed to get done, and there's a lot of things that still either need to get done or are warranty questions, replacement questions. John Sullivan has been really great throughout this whole process. He gets alarms, emails, alerts 24/7 on things that are going on in the school. The fire department has been called multiple times for false alarms, so it's just really making sure everyone's on the same page of why things are not working as they should 4 months into the building being operational.
Well, great point, but also that's the reason why we have this 1-year warranty, because it is expected that any project will have
Yep.
some things that will not work.
Yep.
May I ask for a favor? When you have that list,
Yes.
is it possible to email a copy of it to Mark Dale and Joe Rakowski,
Yeah.
who are the chair and the vice
Sure.
chair of the
Yep.
committee? Thank you.
Yep. And there's some things on, so there was an official list that came from, I believe, Colliers and some of the other subcontractors, and then there's kind of an informal list that John Sullivan just makes on a daily basis, just writes them down. Bill Latoy kind of questioned the teachers on some things in their classroom. So that official list that the OPM is keeping track of, there can be changes made or repairs made or replacements made, but then those changes have to be approved and commissioned by somebody, and then they get crossed off that list. The real main concern was the little things that were happening in teachers' classrooms. There's some classrooms at the very end of the building that, even though the thermostat says 72 degrees, it was 65 or 92 in there. And I learned this, and I'm going to share this, but apparently there's 2 thermostats in place like the library and some classrooms. One thermostat just tells you what that temperature is in the room. Could be 72 degrees. There's another thermostat that actually calls for either heat or cooling that goes off that 72 degrees from the other thermostats. Well, there's multiple instances where they're not talking to each other. So that was one thing where, are we replacing a thermostat? What's the problem? So there's just, again, there's a lot of little things that just still need to be taken care of. And having a building committee meeting would certainly update everybody on what they are.
Well, and I think more importantly, the school building committee is going to stay on top of, that was part of their purview, was to make sure that this project had a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yep.
And if they're not intimately involved, then they can't do their job. And we don't want to come to the end of this year warranty.
No. And Colliers, the representatives from Colliers were pretty clear that the closing out of a final project, we're kind of still in that norm of time period. Like they don't seem like there's some urgency. We're 4 months into the new building, but we're still in that period where there might be some things that go wrong, or there's some
This is status quo for them.
I wouldn't say status quo, but it's not really raising any red flags yet. Now, we might be 6 or 8 months into it and we're still having problems. I'm gonna assume they're gonna be, asking questions too, but we're still in the parameters of what it takes to kind of close this process out and have some.
I don't want to burst your bubble, but I've talked to people in South Hadley and another town that has a new school, and it's about a year.
Yeah, I mean, it's
It doesn't surprise me. Look at the scope of the project.
I know.
I just want to make sure that everybody who needs to be on top of it is on top of it, and that's where communication is key.
And to kind of put something else in perspective, and it's kind of ironic, but the roof was leaking here as well on Thursday as it was in the high school, and this is a brand new roof building. So
I had about a foot of water in my basement.
yeah, so you kind of just put that into perspective on what went on next door, and kind of talk about that next door. I think the admin team did a pretty good job of making sure at first priority that students were safe, and that education could continue. So I'm not a big Facebook person, but to hear that, I don't want to say parents are complaining, but they would maybe question our ability to keep their kids safe is kind of concerning. But that was our number one priority the whole time. At no point was anybody in danger of having a ceiling tile fall on top of them, or and moving lunch from the cafeteria to the gym. We had kids helping us sweep, move the tables. I mean, they were awesome. They were awesome. So it's just unfortunate that social media kind of portrays that view of
learning adaptive skills.
Yeah, it was
resiliency,
yeah.
flexibility.
And I think, not to belabor the beleaguer. Oh, maybe I shouldn't even speak. But when we're looking at safety, we're looking at, are there any instances where students or staff have gone to the nurse? There were none. Were there any instances where we had student reports that there was slipping, or none? Any ceiling tiles falling? None. Did we go in and remove tiles? Yes. So I think social media, it has a tendency to be inflammatory and excite a situation, and our decisions are really very fact-oriented. And yes, we had a discussion about potentially closing school early and sending students home, but it at that point had already been about 10:45. Lunch was already on its way to being served. And that's when the discussion was, there really is no safety issue. Is there an instructional impact? And so we were able to move students into open classrooms. So does that have an impact in instruction? Yes. If you go to your classroom, you can't go there and you've got to go. But again, to be flexible and pick up your stuff and go learn in the superintendent's office like you did when it was 100 degrees, we're all good with that. Mm-hmm. So,
one thing I would say is, just from my perspective, my daughter was in the school and hearing different things. is I almost would have appreciated if the letter that came home from Mr. Sullivan sort of hit on some of the misinformation that was out there, because it became real for the students that a ceiling tile did fall. And whether or not it's true or not, to them, their perception of that reality is their reality, and that's what they're telling their parents, and that's what was being texted, and that was what was being snapped, and whatever the appropriate verbiage for all the social media is, Instagrammed or what have you. I mean, it would have been nice to put some of that out there. Emery and I were having a discussion, and some of the things that were being said or whatever that are out there, again, it's part of the rules. It's not, it would have been nice for that to just kind of be out there, like, no ceiling tiles fell, contrary to popular belief or whatever, kind of call it out to dispel that, just because up until this very moment, I was convinced that a ceiling tile had fell, because I heard it from multiple people, not just my own daughter, who someone had told her and she believed it, but I'd heard it from other people, so it was my reality.
Yeah, all good points, and absolutely safety is the first thing. But from an outside perspective, it doesn't change the fact that the ideal state is that we don't have things like that, and that's what we're trying to address, right? It's not like, this was something ordinary and, it is unduly discussed or at times exaggerated. It happens, and as you said, social media allows that. We can't prevent that, but what happened was not the ideal state or expected state or what we would like to have at all. That's what we're trying to address. On the other side, we have to make sure that everybody understands the primary concern, not only in this case, but in any situation in these schools, is the safety and well-being of our students. Nothing comes before that.
I just have one more question. Going back to the issues with this building and the one-year warranty, anything that's an acknowledged open issue at the end of 1 year is still going to be worked on beyond the 1 year, correct? I mean, that would be my assumption, but I just want to make sure I understand that correctly.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the town's, that's out of our hands, so that's the town's dialogue to have with the OPM and all the contractors and subcontractors.
The warranties, if an issue is identified within the warranty period, if the implementation of the remedy goes beyond the warranty, that that doesn't mean we're beyond the warranty, because it was identified.
I mean,
so
we've had one or two things that have either been replaced or fixed, I would say, multiple times already under warranty. So yes, as long as it's within that year and it calls for a warranty replacement or anything, I'm assuming that they're gonna honor that. A lot of those things haven't worked properly from the start. So that's the bigger issue that they're having is kind of finding out why and what the remedy is.
I guess that's why I'm asking my question there, is because sometimes the diagnosis and then the fix takes a while to find exactly what's going wrong. And then, it is this part right here. We replaced, all the other pieces to it, right?
And that was one of Chris's main concerns in that meeting is, why is it so long between either diagnosing the problem and replacing it or fixing it? And that was one of his main concerns, is making sure that it's happening in a timely manner.
Right. So hopefully it's not like, the last day of the warranty, and then if somebody's working on something and then suddenly, they hear the whistle and everything goes, and goes home. No, that won't be that. All right. So, policy subcommittee, is there any updates from you? Okay. Budget and finance subcommittee.
Yeah, we met Friday. We got some, I guess, really, great updates. And I think we're making it our goal to stick within the parameters of net school spending plus the 305. That's our goal for this year.
So, unfortunately, we couldn't have a longer meeting because it turned out the meeting wasn't posted. So we only got the governor's budget and a brief question, answer, and then we have to leave. So we'll have a longer meeting and more detailed conversation around the budget, right? FY20 next time. Community, did you have anything else?
No, that was it.
Okay, thank you. Community relations committee?
So we were supposed to be added to the agenda either this one or next one, but considering the length.
Talk about it on the 20, like.
Well, this one is a little late, so.
Yeah. Well, no, because when I was looking at the agenda, I was like, oh, we're not on the agenda, so.
Because I thought it was actually going to be part of that 24th one as part of our
Yes.
goals. So it
Yeah.
wasn't actually going to be so we should make sure that we're added to the one, when did we just plan it for? The 9th?
Yeah, the 9th. 6th.
6th. Hey, that's the upside down part of 9.
Wow. I'm really glad I am not the only one. It's been a long day.
It's been a long day. Hey, listen, I'm in the right year. It's 2020, right?
All right.
Just kidding. It's 20.
Would you like a nice little folder and a
Yes, I
notebook
love
that
a little
matches?
folder. So we'll talk
We'll
about
put
how
you
we wanna
on
do
that one.
Yeah.
So did we
yeah.
say the 6th will include community relations as well?
Yes, because it's all part of the, dovetails off the goals, right?
Yeah, it's the
Is that
work
what
group.
you were saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I didn't make it up.
Nope, you're right. I knew we were like on, I'm like, we're on the next meeting agenda.
Right.
And that was Thursday.
Do we have a second session?
Is there anything else that you would like to raise for the upcoming meetings? I have one question about our the first meeting in March. Again, my first meeting in February was incorrect on my calendar, so let's just first confirm. I have it on March 4th.
Nope.
I have it on my calendar, I have the 11th and the 25th in March also.
Okay.
I have the 11th and the 25th.
Okay, I don't know why those are 4th, but I was gonna say that I cannot make it on the 4th, so it's good, 11th is good, we're all set. All right.
You have it on the 4th too?
In
I
February
had
only,
an
not-
invite from Emery on the 4th.
Yes, because I had it wrong,
Yeah.
I just,
Okay, so I'm not losing my mind,
That's
because
not
it was in
wrong.
my calendar,
It's
and
not
I
wrong
like
information,
turned
it's,
it, and I'm like,
correct.
I am not losing it. See,
So
there-
we
I
had,
did not
I remember
invite.
how this sort
We
of
kept it.
happened. We were going through with all of the dates, and then we went backwards and changed them because there were a couple that were up against each other, and we had room to space it out. And so some of those meetings got changed.
Okay, so you all laugh at me for doing old school, but who's the one that has the right dates here? Written down in a notebook.
I have them in my calendar right, but
Put your pen on.
someone told me we had one next week as well, so.
I didn't accept these ones, I just did them on my phone as we were going through.
Ah,
So,
this was a quick problem solve, thank you all.
I have a couple things.
All right.
couple
for
things.
Upcoming meetings. Status on the shared maintenance position, where we're at on that. And status of the pilot mindfulness program at East Meadow. What the start date is, you know, how that timeline for that.
and can we keep the roof on the agenda, just sort of as like a reminder for us?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we typically discussed it within the facilities part of the discussion, but we can make it even more explicit and just
I just think it'd be nice just to keep, it seems like it's such a big target at this point.
good idea. Okay, anything else? All right, so with that, we have an executive session. You still have a little time with us, right, Jen?
Yeah.
Okay. So we will vote to enter into executive session under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Part 83, to discuss strategy with regard to collective bargaining, as doing so in an open session may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the committee. The committee will not return to open session. Kathy, can we have the roll call, please?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye? All right, thank you, and have a good evening.